California's housing market isn't just cooling, it's collapsing in ways that are creating modern ghost towns across the state. You might think expensive real estate means thriving communities, but right now, neighborhoods with million-dollar price tags are sitting empty while businesses shutter and families flee faster than anyone predicted. This isn't just another market correction, it's a complete unraveling that's turning California's most desirable suburbs into eerie, quiet shells of their former selves. The warning signs are flashing everywhere, and the forces driving this collapse are accelerating in ways that will reshape the entire state. The perfect storm behind California's housing collapse. What's driving this collapse isn't just one factor. It's a perfect storm of economic forces that have converged with devastating precision. You're witnessing the aftermath of the most dramatic interest rate shock in modern history. Mortgage rates exploded from 2.8% in early 2022 to 6.9% by mid-2024, essentially tripling the cost of borrowing overnight. That means a family who could afford an $800,000 home suddenly found themselves priced out of anything above $450,000. The numbers tell a brutal story. Active inventory has surged over 60% in markets across Orange County, the Central Valley, and Inland Empire. Homes that once sold in days now sit for months. But here's what makes this different from previous downturns. It's happening while prices remain stubbornly high. You're seeing the worst of both worlds, unaffordable prices and no buyers. The remote work revolution that drove the pandemic housing boom has completely reversed. Workers who fled expensive coastal cities for affordable inland markets are now returning to urban cores or leaving California entirely. Meanwhile, foreign investment, which propped up luxury markets for years, has dried up due to stricter lending policies and global economic uncertainty. This isn't a temporary correction. Federal Reserve policies suggest rates will stay elevated through 2025, while inflation continues eroding purchasing power. The result? California's housing market is fragmenting into distinct winners and losers, with some communities facing complete economic transformation, while others adapt and survive. Mission Viejo, when suburban dreams turn into nightmares. Mission Viejo once epitomized the California dream. Master-planned neighborhoods, top-rated schools, and steady property values that made it Orange County's poster child for suburban success. Today, it's becoming a cautionary tale of what happens when housing costs spiral beyond economic reality. The median home price hit $1.24 million in mid-2025, representing an 83% surge since 2020. Think about what that means for a typical family earning the area's median income of $117,000. You're looking at monthly mortgage payments around $7,100. That's over 70% of gross income before taxes, utilities, or groceries. It's financially impossible for most people. The market has responded predictably. Listings jumped 38% year over year, while buyer activity plummeted 27%. Homes that once sold in under 2 weeks now sit empty for 45 days or more. The human cost is becoming visible everywhere you look. Foreclosure filings spiked 19% since late 2024, hitting a community that had weathered previous downturns relatively well. Local businesses are feeling the squeeze too. Restaurant closures climbed 12% according to the Orange County Business Journal, and the once bustling Shops at Mission Viejo now shows troubling vacancy rates. More telling is the demographic exodus. Mission Viejo's population dropped 2.1% since 2022, while school enrollment fell over 5% as families either can't afford to move in or are forced to move out. The ripple effects are spreading throughout Orange County, but nowhere is the cultural and economic transformation more dramatic than in the region's longtime creative epicenter. Costa Mesa, the death of California's creative economy. Costa Mesa built its identity on being different, a vibrant arts hub where creatives, entrepreneurs, and young professionals could afford to live and work in walkable neighborhoods filled with galleries, studios, and independent businesses. That creative ecosystem is now being systematically dismantled by housing costs that have made the city unlivable for the very people who gave it character. Home prices exploded 95% since 2019, reaching a median of $1.38 million by early 2025. With the area's median household income around $113,000, monthly mortgage payments now exceed $7,800, over 90% of take-home pay for most buyers. You simply can't sustain a creative economy when artists, designers, and small business owners are priced out entirely. Market statistics paint a grim picture. Housing inventory jumped 41% year over year, while homes now sit empty for an average of 52 days, nearly triple the 19-day average from just a year ago. But the real tragedy is what's happening to Costa Mesa's cultural fabric. Retail vacancy rates have doubled since 2023, and commercial lease rates dropped 17% as businesses struggle to survive. Walk through the El Lab or the camp today, and you'll see the hollowing out firsthand. Boutique shops and independent restaurants that define Costa Mesa's character have shuttered, replaced by rows of for-lease signs. Office space availability surged 26% as remote work and business exits accelerate the decline. The city's population has dropped 2.8% over 2 years as the creative class migrates elsewhere. What's particularly troubling is that this pattern isn't limited to organic, arts-driven communities. Even carefully engineered suburban developments are starting to show serious structural cracks. Aliso Viejo, when master planning meets market reality. Aliso Viejo was supposed to be different. This master-planned community in South Orange County's rolling hills represented the pinnacle of suburban engineering, carefully designed neighborhoods, controlled development, and built-in stability that would protect residents from market volatility. Instead, it's proving that even the most thoughtful planning can't overcome fundamental economic math. Home prices now hover around $1.02 million, sitting 88% above the historical average for similar Southern California suburbs. With the typical household income around $112,000, monthly mortgage payments top $6,400 before taxes and insurance. That's financial quicksand for most families, and the market is responding accordingly. Listings surged 45% over the past year, while homes now sit empty for an average of 56 days, a dramatic shift from the 14-day average in early 2023. The community's carefully planned demographics are unraveling too. Population declined 2.3% over 18 months as both young families and retirees seek more affordable options. What's particularly alarming is the foreclosure activity. Aliso Viejo saw a 31% spike in foreclosure filings during the first quarter of 2025 alone. Many of these involve homeowners who bought at peak prices in 2021 and 2022, now finding themselves underwater with mortgages that no longer make financial sense. The corporate backbone is weakening as well. Office parks along Aliso Viejo Parkway are experiencing what real estate professionals call a slow bleed. Vacancy rates climbed 21% as companies downsize or relocate. Even retail centers show declining foot traffic and anchor stores reconsidering lease agreements. But if master plan stability can't weather this storm, imagine what's happening in markets where natural beauty was supposed to justify premium pricing. San Clemente, paradise lost to mortgage mathematics. San Clemente has always sold itself on one thing: location. Spanish-style architecture, cascading down bluffs to world-class surf breaks, where retirees and vacation homebuyers paid premium prices for postcard-perfect coastal living. But in 2025, even paradise has a price limit, and San Clemente is discovering that breathtaking views can't overcome breathtaking mortgage payments. The median home price hit $1.72 million, sitting 106% above the city's long-term historical trend. At current mortgage rates around 6.7%, you're looking at monthly payments of $9,800, affordable only to the top 10% of earners in an area where median household income is $118,000. The math simply doesn't work for anyone else. The luxury market is responding with a vengeance. Listings jumped 49% year over year, and nearly 40% of active homes have seen price cuts as sellers face reality. Rental demand is softening too, with average two-bedroom rents at $3,750 and occupancy rates slipping 5.2%. Landlords are offering concessions not seen since the Great Recession. Tourism, once a reliable economic buffer, can't compensate anymore. Downtown shops and cafes report a 16% drop in sales from last year as visitors tighten spending and some beachfront businesses simply shut down. The population has shrunk 1.9% since 2023, as remote workers who flooded the market during the pandemic retreat to more affordable inland options. San Clemente still boasts incredible natural beauty, but beauty alone can't pay a mortgage. The oceanfront paradise is becoming a cautionary tale, and this crisis isn't limited to luxury coastal enclaves where affordability was always a challenge. Tustin, the collapse of California's affordable option. Tustin was supposed to be Orange County's saving grace, the place where middle-class families could still afford a piece of the California dream. Nestled between expensive Irvine and Santa Ana, it offered reasonable home prices, decent schools, and historic charm without the luxury market premiums. That safety valve has now been completely destroyed. Home prices exploded 87% since 2019, reaching a median of $1.21 million. With mortgage rates at 6.7%, monthly payments exceed $7,000 while median household income sits at just $115,000. You're looking at a debt-to-income ratio that pushes buyers to financial breaking points, and the market is responding predictably. Inventory surged 42% year over year as desperate sellers flood the market, but buyers have vanished. Homes now sit empty for an average of 54 days, compared to just 18 days during the 2021 boom. Nearly 35% of listings are seeing price cuts, and frustrated sellers are pulling homes entirely rather than accept lower offers. The foreclosure crisis is hitting particularly hard. Filings jumped 28%, with many involving homeowners who bought with adjustable rate mortgages during the low-interest frenzy of 2021. Those who stretch financially to enter Tustin's affordable market now face ballooning payments they can't meet. Small businesses are crumbling under the economic pressure. Commercial vacancies climbed 22% as local restaurants and retailers struggle with reduced foot traffic and rising overhead costs. The reliable influx of young professionals and remote workers has slowed dramatically, with population dropping 2.4% since 2022. What's most troubling is that this affordability crisis isn't contained within Orange County's borders. It's spreading rapidly across California's interior valleys and inland communities. Modesto, the failed promise of inland affordability. Modesto marketed itself as the answer to California's housing crisis, a Central Valley haven where Bay Area workers could escape crushing costs and remote workers could stretch their dollars. The city became a poster child for pandemic-era migration, welcoming thousands of families who thought they'd found their escape route. That promise has turned into a financial trap. The median home price dropped 11% from its 2022 peak of nearly $460,000 to approximately $410,000 by mid-2025. That might sound like relief, but it's paired with a devastating 52% surge in active listings, creating a massive oversupply problem. With mortgage rates near 6.8%, monthly payments still exceed $2,800, painful when median household income is just $66,000. The foreclosure crisis tells the real story. Filings jumped 34% year over year, with many tied to buyers who entered the market with minimal down payments and now owe more than their homes are worth. Underwater mortgages have climbed to 13%, concentrated in neighborhoods east of McHenry Avenue and south of downtown where speculative buying was heaviest. Employment opportunities are evaporating too. Unemployment hit 6.4%, well above national averages, driven by layoffs in service and warehousing sectors. Commercial vacancy rates soared to 18% as malls and retail strips show visible decay. The population declined 1.7% over the past year, completely reversing the influx from 2020 to 2021. What once seemed like a safe escape from California's high costs has become one of the state's most vulnerable markets, and similar patterns are emerging in even larger inland communities that were supposed to anchor the region's economic growth. Riverside, the Inland Empire's economic engine, breaks down. Riverside was the Inland Empire's crown jewel, a logistics powerhouse that transformed from sleepy college town into Southern California's fastest-growing economic engine. Massive distribution centers, steady job growth, and relatively affordable housing made it the poster child for inland prosperity. That success story is now collapsing under the weight of unsustainable price growth and a faltering economic foundation. Home prices surged 68% from 2018 levels, reaching a median of $565,000 by 2025. With mortgage rates above 6.6%, monthly payments exceed $3,800 while median household income sits around $74,000. That crushing debt-to-income gap has buyers fleeing the market entirely. The numbers paint a devastating picture. Active listings exploded 47% year over year, and homes now sit empty for an average of 59 days compared to just 21 days 2 years ago. Roughly 33% of homes have seen price cuts as desperate sellers chase a shrinking pool of qualified buyers. Foreclosure activity spiked 39%, concentrated among homeowners who bought with FHA loans and minimal equity during the 2021 to 2022 buying frenzy. But the real crisis is economic. The logistics and warehousing sector that powered Riverside's growth is contracting sharply due to reduced shipping demand, triggering widespread layoffs. Unemployment climbed to 5.9%, eroding the economic stability that justified those housing prices. Retail vacancy rates jumped 14% as strip malls show signs of long-term neglect. What was once a regional success story is becoming a cautionary tale of boom and bust economics, with half-occupied neighborhoods and disappearing equity. The vulnerabilities run even deeper in communities that built their entire economic identity around volatile industries like energy production. Bakersfield, when energy capital runs out of steam. Bakersfield built its identity around energy production, California's oil capital where derricks dotted the horizon and petroleum jobs provided middle-class stability for generations. The pandemic housing boom brought fresh optimism as remote workers discovered the Central Valley's affordability, but that wave has crashed against the reality of a one-industry economy in decline. Home prices dropped 11% from their late 2022 peak of $440,000 to approximately $390,000 by mid-2025. While still considered affordable by California standards, this decline coincides with a crushing 58% surge in listings, creating massive oversupply. With mortgage rates near 6.9% and median household income around $63,000, monthly payments of $2,600 remain out of reach for most families. The employment crisis tells the deeper story. Unemployment hit 7.1%, significantly above national averages, driven by layoffs across oil, agriculture, and warehousing sectors. Recent declines in oil demand combined with warehouse closures have eliminated thousands of jobs that once supported the housing market. Foreclosure activity increased 41% as buyers who entered during the remote work boom now face financial reality. Underwater mortgages are creeping back, particularly in newer subdivisions on the city's west side where speculative buying was heaviest. Commercial real estate shows similar stress. Vacancy rates soared 19% as big box stores close and entire shopping centers sit hollow. What once felt like Central Valley prosperity is becoming economic stagnation, with vibrant neighborhoods turning eerily quiet. The pattern of boom-to-bust economics isn't unique to energy towns, though. It's now affecting cities across every market segment in ways nobody anticipated. Stockton and Irvine, the bookends of California's housing crisis. The scope of California's housing crisis becomes crystal clear when you compare two cities that couldn't be more different, Stockton and Irvine. One is a working-class Central Valley community with a history of boom and bust cycles. The other is Orange County's masterpiece of suburban planning and prosperity. Yet both are experiencing remarkably similar patterns of collapse, proving this crisis cuts across every demographic and price point. Stockton, still scarred from its 2012 bankruptcy and foreclosure nightmare, is reliving its darkest days. Foreclosure filings jumped 38% since the second quarter of 2024, while population declined 2.9% as residents flee economic uncertainty. The median home price dropped 12% from its 2022 peak to $420,000, but with 55% more listings and vanished buyer demand, even affordable prices feel expensive. Meanwhile, Irvine, long considered immune to market volatility, is experiencing its first major crisis. The median home price hit $1.62 million, requiring monthly payments exceeding $10,000 that price out even six-figure earners. Active listings surged 63%, homes sit empty for 66 days on average, and 38% are seeing price cuts. Foreign investment has dried up, and population growth has flattened completely. What's shocking is how similar the fundamental patterns are. Both cities show massive inventory increases, extended market times, rising foreclosures, and population exodus. When places as different as Stockton and Irvine display identical warning signs, you're not looking at isolated market corrections. You're witnessing a statewide housing system that's fundamentally broken and creating ghost towns across California's entire economic spectrum.